There's so many trees.
Wonderful.
So, Bija Vidyapeeth has, in your time, it's evolved so
Flourished, yeah,
flourished.
yeah.
So beautiful. And people from all over the world have come.
Yeah,
In
yeah.
fact, this tree was
Yeah.
planted by Prince Charles.
Really?
Yeah.
This is the one?
This
This is the
one,
one?
yeah.
Okay.
So we're
Very
sitting
good.
under the tree of Prince Charles from
Yeah.
England,
Yeah.
now at Bija Vidyapeeth.
Yeah.
And we had a conversation
Yeah.
for life in England, and now we're having a conversation for life
Yeah.
in Bija Vidyapeeth. And Satishji, welcome once again
My pleasure.
to be with us. And it's my heart beats when I sit next to you. But, I just have some more questions. And one of the question is, you speak of elegant simplicity. And I think actors and artists and directors and writers and their films, their scripts can really get inspired by it.
I feel that at this moment in our world, our minds are getting complicated, our words are getting complicated, our books and writings are very academic and complicated, and our lives are cluttered. Our homes, our offices, our workplaces, cluttered. And this clutter doesn't make you happy. So I have brought this book called Elegant Simplicity. We need to live simply and more joyfully. This clutter doesn't make you happy. But I want simplicity to be elegant, to be beautiful. Because without beauty, there's no life. Nature is very beautiful. People are very beautiful. But what producing are not very beautiful. Modern housing, not very beautiful. Modern factory-made manufactured goods, they're not very beautiful. So we are creating an ugly civilization. And so simplicity and beauty, simplicity and elegance go together. So life should be simple and elegant. And elegance should be simple and beautiful. So this is a kind of combination I have made. Elegant, simple. And when you have elegant simplicity, then you can live more joyfully, more happily. Music, poetry, art, acting, theater, singing, all these things bring joy to life.
There's this illusion they've created, the bigger the better, crescendo, heavier, and you know, and I think what I hear what you're saying is less is more.
Absolutely. Less is more. When you have a little, few good things, that's a much more joyful and much more source of happiness. So my mother used to say that nothing have in your house which is not beautiful. But beautiful should also be useful. If it's not useful, just a kind of decoration is not beauty. And it should be durable, should last for a long time. So three principles: beautiful, useful, durable.
Durable.
I call it BUD principle. BUD. Beautiful, useful, durable. And so less is more. Less but elegant. Less but beautiful. Less but lasting. If you can have a less but good things, they're more beautiful. Less is more, certainly.
And then what's this frenzy about in cinema? You know, make it glamorous and make it big. They show cars, they show
No, no.
cleavages, they show
Not
motorcycles.
not only less is more, slow and small is beautiful. My friend and mentor E.F. Schumacher wrote a book called Small is Beautiful.
Yeah, I'm aware of that.
Yeah. So small and slow and simple are beautiful.
From glamour to grace.
Glamour to grace. That's it. At the moment, we are building glamour. Glamorous hotels, glamorous offices, glamorous this, glamorous that. They are not beautiful, they are glamorous. So instead of glamorous, be gracious. And when you are gracious, you are happy. So I'm always saying shift from glamour to grace.
But this whole thing about glamour comes from ego, isn't it?
Yes, yes,
So
absolutely.
How do you deal with ego?
Ego is caused by separation. And I'm separate from you. And then separation leads to judgment. So I say, I'm better than you. I'm more important than you. My religion is more important than your religion. My country is more important than your country. So me, me, me. I want to shift from me to we, from I to us, from ego to eco.
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 Okay.
Change from G to C.
Ecological.
Ecological. Because ego separates. Eco in Greek means home. And home is a place of relationship, not separation, but connection. Connecting with ourselves, connecting with our family, connecting with all other people, connecting with nature, from separation to connection, from ego to eco, from glamour to grace.
Grace. From
These
glamour
are the
to grace.
kind of shift we have to make in our time if we want to really be happy and more sustainable and a more joyful life.
And can you give some practical insights and practical ideas for aspiring artists?
Aspiring artists, particularly young aspiring artists, I would like to suggest to them one thing. First of all, travel a little bit.
Travel.
Travel. See the world. Experience the world. So many beautiful cultures, so many beautiful languages, so many beautiful landscapes. So traveling makes you more generous. Your mind expands. Your consciousness expands. You start to think in a much bigger way. Your mind and consciousness become more inclusive. So I traveled, and my traveling has made my mind much more expansive and much more inclusive and much more accepting other cultures. The two books about my travel are, the latest one is A Pilgrimage for Peace.
A pilgrimage for peace.
Yes,
Okay.
and that describes my journey of 8,000 miles from New Delhi, from the memorial of Mahatma Gandhi to Moscow, Paris, London, Washington, D.C., up to the grave of John F. Kennedy.
Okay.
So that was my journey without any money,
Gee.
8,000 miles through 15 countries, and that gave me a kind of much larger consciousness. And now I can appreciate the world and I can see the diversity, how the diversity is wonderful. I celebrate diversity, diversity of cultures, diversity of languages, diversity of nations, diversity of philosophies, diversity of truths. Biodiversity, cultural diversity, and truth diversity.
Ah,
Truth diversity.
what's truth diversity?
There is no one truth.
Okay.
There's no one truth. There are as many people, that many truths. Although there may be one universal truth, but everybody experiences that truth in their own
Own
particular
way.
way.
Yeah. Okay.
So that, like a Swadharma, Mera Dharma, Swasatya. The 8 billion people in the world, there are 8 billion religions. But each person has to practice love, compassion, kindness, generosity. These are religious principles. So dharma, religion, spirituality belongs to each and every individual. So in the same way, I would like to say the truth belongs to each and every individual. Of course, we are all one humanity, but one humanity, each individual is different, unique. No two eyes are same, no two faces are same. So this kind of unity and diversity dancing together.
I'm just wondering, how important are stories for young people?
Extremely important. When you are children, we grow up with stories. Our mothers, our fathers, our uncles, they tell you the story. So we grow up in story world and listening to story. My mother always used to tell me stories. One of my book I wrote based on the story told by my mother called The Buddha and the Terrorist,
Okay.
Angulimala story. So I think, and all the great writers have written stories. So our mythology, our stories are extremely, they are very metaphorical.
What about the stories with human beings and animals, fables?
Yes, they are very important. They are very important. Humans and animals, and all our stories of Ramayana, all the stories of Mahabharata, all the stories
Jatak
of
tales.
Jatak tales. The stories have a
Panchatantra,
metaphor, and the stories always evolve. They are living stories. And therefore, if we listen to stories, if we tell stories to our children, and if children grow up in stories and mythology, myths are very important. Myths are not just myths; they are containers of truth.
Container of truth.
Yeah.
But when you were traveling,
Yeah.
people must be telling you stories as well.
Yes. Yes.
And every country had their own story. Every
Absolutely.
culture had their own
Absolutely.
story.
Yeah. And also, when you are traveling, you are also making stories.
In your mind.
In your
and
mind.
also what you're saying.
Yeah, making stories. So my walk from India to America is a story, and I tell the story. There's a story of how 2 women gave me 4 packets of tea, and they said these 4 packets of tea is no ordinary tea; it's a peace tea, and please give one to our premier in Moscow in the Kremlin. Give second packet of peace tea to the president of France in Palais Élysée in Paris. Third packet of peace tea to the prime minister of England in 10 Downing Street, and fourth packet of tea to the President of the United States of America in the White House in Washington, D.C. And I was so amazed that this woman in a small town near Sochi by the Black Sea giving me these 4 packets of tea. And she said, please give 4 packets of tea with my message to these leaders. I said, what is your message? She said, my message to them is that if you ever get a mad thought of pressing the nuclear button, please stop for a moment and have a fresh cup of tea.
Ah, lovely.
That's a story.
So simple.
It's not.
Yeah,
It's not a kind of. It's based on fact, but it has become a story as well. And so I tell the story, and people are so amazed. And they say, "Oh yes, cup of tea is a cup of peace. Cup of tea is a cup of love. When you want to talk to somebody, you have a cup of tea together. When you have a cup of tea together, you become friends." So this story inspires people. So when you are traveling, you are creating stories, you are discovering stories, you are making stories, and through stories and through tales, you can communicate in a much simpler way.
And also short stories, long stories,
Yeah.
epics, which
Epics.
go on
Yeah.
and on.
Stories are easy to remember. You can remember Mahabharata, you can remember Ramayana, you can remember these things. But the pure academic philosophy,
no
you don't remember. You don't remember. So I think through stories, you remember much more.
Children learn faster with stories also.
Yeah. And their stories are told, that's a very beautiful way, but also stories are acted. And actors need to be storytellers. And I would like actors to live those stories in a very organic way. Organic actors. And organic actors have to live organic way and eat organic food. And be organic, organic life. At the moment, our lives have become very manufactured.
Do they drink proteins and chemicals and to make the body? And
so I think our actors have to live organic life, and then they will become organic actors. And their acting and their storytelling will inspire many, many thousands of people.
What about actors wanting to eat a lot of meat to build their bodies and eat chicken and so on?
You don't need to eat meat to build your bodies. You don't need. I'm 87 years old.
Yes.
Is there anything lacking in my
No,
body?
not at all.
And I have never even touched or tasted meat. And my mother lived to be 80, and she was milking cows, she was farming, she had 8 children, she was absolutely wonderful, healthy and strong. So this idea that meat makes you strong and big is complete myth. And there are millions and millions of Indian people, Vaishnavites and Jains and Buddhists, they never eat meat and they are strong and healthy. So I think this idea that meat makes you healthy and strong is complete myth.
So you have had a wonderful opportunity to live in India and also in the West, and also been to America and Japan and so on. In the West, they only consider 4 elements, earth, wind, fire, water. They don't consider space.
Yeah.
And in India, we consider space, 5 elements.
Yeah.
Why don't they consider space?
Because Western people are very keen on having things measured. If something cannot be measured, does not exist. There was a philosopher in France called René Descartes, and he said, "I think, therefore I am." That was his slogan. And he said, what cannot be measured does not exist. So space you cannot really measure. It's infinite. I would say that from a Jain tradition and also many Hindu tradition, we have elements earth, air, fire, water, space. The 6th element is consciousness.
It's also an element.
Yes. Yeah, Chit.
Chit.
Yeah. Chit is an element because earth, air, fire, water, and space cannot exist without consciousness. Consciousness is the inner element. Outer elements are earth, air, fire, water, and space. But inner element, everything is united by consciousness. The earth is conscious, water is conscious, fire is conscious, air is conscious, space is conscious, humans are conscious, animals are conscious. So the consciousness is what unites the whole life. Unity of life comes from unity of consciousness.
And you speak about the inner and the outer uniting. What is that prayer with the hands? Can
So
I do
I
it with
would
you?
say right hand
Okay.
represents the world.
Okay.
Left hand represents the self. And by uniting two hands together, we are uniting the world and the self. When I meet someone, I say namaste with my folded hands. Then I think and I believe that whole world exists in you. And therefore, when I bow to you, I am paying my homage and tribute in my humility to the whole world through you. And I see the whole world in me as well, because we are one. We are all made of same elements and same consciousness. And so I see myself in the whole world, and I see whole world in myself. And therefore, if I hurt anybody outside, I'm hurting myself. If I hurt myself, I'm hurting somebody else or everybody else. And therefore, I must not, and I should not, and I will not hurt, harm anyone. Do no harm is our first principle. Do no harm to yourself, do no harm to other people, and do no harm to nature. If we do no harm, that's one common principle for everybody. And then whatever you want to do, you are completely free. The total freedom of action, as long as your action is not doing any harm to anybody else.
Right.
So believe
So you have to be responsible also.
responsible. Freedom with responsibility. And responsibility is to do no harm.
No harm.
Or if you can, then do good. But that is
Next
up
level.
to you.
Next level.
Next level. But the first level, the common
No
ground,
harm.
is just do no harm. That's ahimsa.
And from competition to
To cooperation
cooperation,
and collaboration, working together.
community,
Yeah. Co-creation.
co-creation.
Co-creation, because nothing can be created by one person alone. A house is built by many people. So many
Film is made by a lot of people.
film is made by many people. So, yeah, and so things are created. A tree cannot grow by itself without the rain, without the sun, without the soil, without the orchard keeper.
Humus. Humus,
Soil,
yeah.
humus, and so everything is made of many things. Nothing can exist by itself. No atom, no electron, no proton, no particle can exist by itself. They come into existence only when two atoms or two particles or more than two particles come together to make something. And therefore, we exist in relationship alone. Without relationship, there is no existence.
One more thing I want to ask is, how do you feel at the moment? Not what you're thinking. What are you feeling right now?
We are sitting at this Bija Vidyapeeth, which is Navdanya farm. Being in a place like this, by the river Jamuna and by the forest on that side, it is a little piece of paradise. At the moment, all our cities and urban development is very ugly, very haphazard. There's no aesthetics. And when there's no aesthetics, no life, no happiness. So I'm very happy feeling in this place, which is very so natural, surrounded by trees and the flowers. And I would like to say that the modern world is facing many crises, including global warming, climate change, biodiversity diminishing, poverty, wars, wars in Ukraine and Russia, war in Palestine and Israel. All these exist because we have lost a sense of aesthetics. So our crisis of this time is a crisis of aesthetics. If we can have aesthetics, a sense of beauty, that will lead us into peace, and that will lead us into happiness, and then lead us into good, elegantly simple but joyful life. So we need to bring back a sense of beauty, a sense of aesthetics, beautiful words, beautiful thoughts, beautiful action, beautiful goods, beautiful houses, beautiful food. People are beautiful. Nature is beautiful. But what people are making through machines and through manufacturing and mass production, and the kind of houses we are building, and the kind of goods we are producing through our mechanized system, they are not so beautiful. And therefore, I teach in my course, I say, only thing I want to teach you is beauty. And go and create beauty. That's all your mission. Nothing else but beauty.
And what should be my mission and my theatre company and my acting group and my Nani Dunya? What should be our mission?
Beauty is the foundation for everything. So you are actually, I visited your school, Nani Dunya, and it's a very beautiful school. And your children are so beautiful. And when they act so beautifully. And when they sing very beautifully. You are creating a future of artists, singers, actors, dancers, musicians, and artists and craftsmen. So you are creating a very beautiful, beautiful world. I would like to see acting should be not only a profession, but also a vocation.
A vocation.
A vocation. So you are acting not just for name, fame, prestige, power, position, money, profit, glamour, not all these things. These are not desirable things. Act for as a vocation, for love, to help people, to inspire people, for transformation, so that they can learn new vision, new ideas, new values. I mean,
And find hope.
Find
also.
hope. I'm not against professionalism. Profession is good, but professionalism without vocation is empty. So you need to combine your professionalism with vocation. That's my main message.
But you also emphasize that people should learn to communicate.
Yes.
Would you consider this kind of recording?
Absolutely, absolutely. This is a
positive.
kind of communication.
And somebody who's on the other side of the world will get a chance to
Yeah. We have to spread the word. We have to spread the word. And all our great spiritual teachers or great artists have used their teachings and their art to communicate good ideas. Picasso, he painted a great painting called Guernica. It was a painting to show the horrors of war. And that painting was in the United Nations in New York. And then now it has come back to Madrid because he was Spanish, so it has come back to Madrid in a museum. Now there's a great piece of communication about peace and the horrors of war. And Van Gogh communicated through his art, love of nature, love of sunflower, love of beauty. And so musicians like John Lennon, singing and writing the song Imagine. That was a kind of communication. So you can communicate through acting, through singing, through art, through gardening, through cooking. There are many, many ways to communicate. We have to spread the word. That's how we create a new generation. Teaching is a communication. So that's how we create a new generation.
Satishji, you have created an incredible story for the universe.
Yes.
And it's going to stay there even much after you're physically gone.
Yeah.
But spiritually, you'll always be with us.
Are you going to come here next year?
Yes.
Okay.
Planning.
And so can we
November.
have the third conversation when you come next time?
Yes.
Okay.
November next year.
Thank you so much.
My
Thank
pleasure.
you. Thank
Lovely to see you,
Thank you.
Alok.
Come, let's walk to
Yeah,
the
okay.